Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre. Today's video is a one-story video, and it comes from r/relationships. So let's cut this introduction short and let's get started. This one is from user WKZU. For some context on the posting, the first part of the post, the original post, is from 2 years ago. The update is from last month. So let's start from the beginning. Backstory. My parents got divorced in August of 2014. It was a messy effing divorce. One of the worst I've ever known. And I know quite a few of my friends' parents. My mother took half of my dad's savings, half of his pension. He had just retired after 11 years in the army and 25 years in the police. She was cheating on him during this time. Half of the house, the mortgage on which she never contributed to, and even tried to get half of the compensation my dad was awarded after being hit by a car. ICU medically induced coma, plus in various hospitals and rehab centers from November 2015 to January 2016. Long story short, she bankrupted my dad. We were on the verge of homelessness for a while. He spiraled into depression, which dragged me into depression. Things were freaking bad for us. She also tried to use me and my sister as weapons against him. She moved to Surrey, a place near London, around 200 miles from where we were living at the time, to be with the man she was cheating with. My sister, 14 at the time, went with her. My mom tried to make me come too. I wasn't no contact at this point, but I had just started a software development apprenticeship at the time, so I stayed with my father. Things were okay. I even went down to Surrey to see them. It was when I was down there that I overheard my stepfather chatting crap about my dad, a man he had never met, calling him worthless, good for nothing, not a real man, was thrown in there a couple of times. She was laughing along all the way. Obviously, I was upset. When I got back home, I texted her to let her know that I knew what he had been saying. This led to a barrage from her side and telling me never to talk or attempt to contact her, my stepfather, or, and this is the only thing that killed me, my sister. I happily obliged with the first two. I carried on talking to my sister through Facebook, saying things like, "I will never not love you, you'll always be my sister." She said similar things back and said she missed me. I went to message her one day and she blocked me. I got a text from her saying that the way I spoke to my mom and stepfather was disgusting and that they have been nothing but amazing to me and her. When I first read it though, it was weird. When my dad got the exact same text, word for word, despite not saying anything to either of them, I knew it was my mother pretending to be my sister. I texted her back saying something along the lines of, "Your BS has always been easy to see through," mom's name. I didn't get any message back. Now's not the time to get into it, but after many a drunken conversation with my dad, I found out my mom was always emotionally abusive and a total narcissist. When she found out I tried to end my life, she mentioned in a letter to another family member that I should have tried harder. I never want anything to do with her again. Now, as mentioned above, my father was bankrupt. He had no money left to fight for custody of my sister. I knowed he'd do anything to see her again. Going through courts is no longer an option. We don't know where they live. We don't have the money. Heck, we don't even know if any of them are still alive. Until yesterday, my girlfriend and I were scouring the web for any online presence of any of them, when she found a Facebook profile for my sister that was created around 2 weeks ago. It only has one profile picture and the privacy settings are on pretty much maximum. You can only message it. She sent me the link to it and I'm blocked. However, given what happened with the text message a few years back, I'm inclined to believe that it's in part due to my mother. Maybe I'm being stupidly naive and my sister really doesn't want anything to do with me. So here's my dilemma. Not only has my sister been cut off from me, she's been cut off from her entire family. All her aunts, uncles, and grandparents are not allowed to contact her, lest they corrupt her, mother's words, into seeing me and my dad again. I can message my sister if I create a new Facebook account. even if it's just to let her know that whatever she's been fed about mine and my father's feelings about her are lies, and that we still love her. Even if it's just to let her know that her nan thinks about her every day and she could die happily after just one phone call from her. The issue is, I don't want her mother intercepting the message and making things worse for her or us. I'm sure her account is heavily monitored. I might sound crazy to a lot of people, and I know there's two sides to every story, including this one, but I promise you on my life, living under my mother is like living under a dictatorship. Your thoughts aren't your own. It's horrible. She will start university in September, I assume. I'm thinking the best way to do this is to message the account around October time. The thing is, I don't know if I'm emotionally ready to be told to go F myself by her. My dad's therapist has said there's a very real possibility my sister grows to become like my mother. Part of me is ready to accept that fact as closure. Part of me wants to believe that would never happen. And part of me thinks I should just leave it alone. I'm really at a loss for what to do. For 4 years I've been looking for her. Now that I finally found her, or at least an online presence of her, I really don't want to F anything up. So at this point in time, 2 years ago, OP hasn't seen his sister for 4 years. She went from being 14 to being 18. And now we're going to continue with the update that was 1 month ago in 2020. Well, I'm 23 now, finished university, starting a real job. Dad and I no longer have depression. Life is pretty good. As for my sister, a few interesting things have happened, to say the least. Firstly, I took the overall consensus from the original post and didn't make any attempt to contact her. I did drunkenly check her page from time to time to see if anything had changed, and I found that I was unblocked on my main Facebook account, probably around August that same year. My sister rang my aunt and said she wanted to arrange a meeting with her and her son, our cousin. My aunt immediately rang my dad and I and told us the good news. We were both uncertain about how we should take it, but overall we were pretty happy. They all met up, and apparently my sister has also been kicked out of our mother's house for some reason or another and is staying with a friend, and she hasn't spoken to my mother for over a year. The story goes that my mother and her new victim managed to ostracize themselves from all their friends down there, and my mother took out her aggression on my sister. So she stormed out and turned up teary-eyed at a friend's house and has been living with them ever since. She asked about me and my father, if we're doing well and if we hate her. Obviously, my aunt assured her that we definitely don't. My sister says that she wants to get in contact with the both of us, but she wants to take it slow and she didn't know how we would react. In my view, that's completely understandable. That's interesting point number 1. Just as a side note, my mother once smacked my sister in the face for wasting a tampon when she was 12. I obviously am not completely familiar with that uniquely female experience, but I did get the joy of hearing that moment unfold, just for an idea of the type of person my mother is and what she did to us both as kids. Interesting point number 2 happens when my sister goes with her new boyfriend up to visit our nan. My nan is our maternal grandmother. I phone her as often as I can, which isn't as often as I would like it to be, admittedly, and I know I'll kick myself for it. I digress. Every time I do phone her, she always asks about my dad and his new partner, and sends them both birthday cards, Christmas cards, and so on. To me, it just speaks volumes about the type of person my mother is when her mother is more concerned about the well-being of her ex-husband and his new partner. Just trying to get this point home to any doubters. Anyways, when my sister goes to see Nan, there's another cousin of ours, big family, also present. My cousin tells me that my sister told our Nan that it had been a few months since she had last spoken to our mother, which is quite a bit different to over a year ago. Whatever, maybe my aunt misremembered the meeting. However, my cousin did say that she got a very off vibe from my sister. And to paraphrase my cousin's own words, You would think sister had last seen us all last weekend, not 5 years ago. She walked into Nan's house like she owned the effing place. She didn't really say why she was getting in contact with us and not you or your dad, other than she wasn't ready, and she didn't really say why she hadn't spoken to her mother either. I don't know, I wasn't happy with it at all, and we were all thinking that you two, my father and I, should be in that room, not us. But maybe your mother has made me too paranoid. Interesting point number 3 occurs when I find out that my sister asked my nan for some money to help her out with university and not living with her mother anymore. My nan, being the lovely little 86-year-old Welsh sweetheart that she is, gave her around £2,000. Now, I'm happy to be proven wrong here, but asking for £2,000 within a few hours of reconnecting with family that you haven't seen or made contact with for 5 years is very strange. I find out about this because around that time my nan called me, since she had promised me an update on the situation, to tell me that for about a week after my sister met up with them all, they had been in regular contact via phone and Facebook. And since that week, nothing. Unreturned voicemails, Facebook messages left unread, my sister had taken the money and effed off. I spent the day reassuring my nan that she hadn't done anything wrong and she definitely wasn't the idiot she thought she was for giving my sister the money. Interesting point number 4 is the least interesting, but you'll be pleased to know that my ramblings end here at least. It should go without saying that since the first meeting with my aunt and her son, neither my dad nor I have had any direct contact with my sister. On Boxing Day, my sister finally calls my nan and wishes her a Merry Christmas. My nan says thanks and hangs up. In January, on my nan's 87th birthday, my sister calls up and wishes her a happy birthday, and also mentions that she's having some money problems. My nan rolls her eyes and hands the phone to my aunt, who buys my sister's sob story hook, line, and sinker, and rings me to tell me the quote-unquote good news, and that it's different this time, she really wants to see you. Around May, which is my birthday month by the way, my sister sends a text to my aunt to see if she has any old pictures of her. My aunt says she doesn't, but that me and my dad might, which we do. My sister sends a text back saying that she will get in touch with us. I know this is gonna come as a complete shock, but it's been radio silence since, and in all honesty, I'm fine with that. To me, it's crystal clear who my sister has grown up to be like. Toying with family members' emotions, treating her own presence as a gift and using it to manipulate money out of people. Inconsistent stories about her relationship with the one person she knows would be a deal breaker if the rest of the family knew was still involved, and terrible at hiding her true intentions. Will she ask me for the photos? Probably not. Unless she gets really desperate and exhausts all other avenues for exploiting money out of people with pity stories. But even she knows that I know exactly who that money is going to. My mother knows that she's not in my nan's will at this point. If she does want to meet up, I will bring the photos with me. Part of me wants to bring 2 envelopes. Half of the photos in one envelope, and the other half shredded up in another. And depending on how the meeting goes, which envelope she gets. I won't do that, but the thought of being that petty is very tempting. But wouldn't be fair to my sister and would only give me short-term satisfaction in the form of a pathetic one-up. I'm not holding my breath. She was 14 and I was 17 the last time I saw her. She's turning 21 this year and I was 23 in May. I've had many years of anger and grief and done my time with depression. I've hurt many people and many relationships along the way. I'm still learning what's normal and what isn't. But the whole of my life is split up into before and after. And for the most part, my sister lives and will remain in the before. Somewhat because I want to maintain the memory I have of her and not tainted by knowing what she has become. Somewhat because I'm not ready to go through what I overcame again. I've accepted my role in the universe as the recipient of bad karma to make up for all the good karma that randomly happens to other people. I actually think I am a very lucky man, all things considered. I'm where I want to be in life. I have a fun and happy and stable family around me, and I'm confident in the person I've become. That line is a glimpse into my personality. Some people got that. Some people were genuinely concerned for me, which I do sincerely appreciate. The black dog never really stops chasing you, but I get a much warmer feeling from being able to laugh at a universe that is seemingly constantly essing on you than I do from pretending that everything is okay. For the first time in my life, I've been the one in control. As for my attitude to her and my mother, the best word I could adequately use to describe it is ambivalent. They could win the lottery and be on the news tomorrow, or they could get hit by a bus. My reaction would probably be the same. To everyone else out there with estranged parents or other family members, the one thing I learned is that estrangement is the best thing they'll ever do for you. It felt good to get this off my chest and know that a lot of people think I'm making the right moves. Some people have said that my sister is still young and still probably under my mother's influence. However, my life has already moved on. I made peace with the fact that I may never see my sister again long before the events I've detailed out here. And when this all kicked off, the closure and acceptance I had moved on from began to unravel. I'm not ready to go back into dark days of a risk that everything might be okay. Yes, in the future we may reconnect, but for now I am focused on my own life. And I'm content with taking some of the rare happy memories I had of my family in my childhood with me, untouched by these developments. Wow, it sounds like OP went through the complete grieving process and has put his sister in the past, the memories of the little girl that he knew, and not this new person that just popped up into his family's life that acts a lot like his mother. It is somewhat of a bittersweet ending to this story. The fact that the sister turned up to be, or at least seems like she turned out to be, just like her mother, a manipulative narcissist, is sad. But the sweet part is that OP has moved on and he already grieved the loss of his sister, so this doesn't really affect him, or it doesn't seem to. So that's good. So good for you, OP. Keep moving forward, and here's to hoping that your sister someday changes and becomes a person that you can have a relationship with. And so, we've reached the end of the video. I really hope you liked it. If you did, go ahead and click like. If you already liked it and you're not yet a part of this community, go ahead and click subscribe. And don't forget to visit the Lost Genre subreddit, where you can cross-post stories that you'd like for me to feature in videos, or write your own story for me to do so. Okay, and having said all that, I'll see you guys on the next video.